From the Garcelon Civic Center in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, CHCO Television is proud to present Meet Your Candidates, St. Stephen Votes. Here are your moderators, Vicki, Hogarth, and Nathalie Sturgeon.
Welcome to Meet Your Candidates, St. Stephen Votes, coming to you from the Garcelon Civic Center. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon. Tonight we are recording a live to tape in front of an audience to be aired at a later date as part of CHCO-TV's local elections coverage.
With local elections happening across New Brunswick on May 11th, this is an opportunity to hear directly from those seeking to represent your community.
Before we begin, we would like to thank the Municipal District of St. Stephen for providing this space and the St. Stephen Area Chamber of Commerce for helping spread the word.
A quick note about the tone of tonight's event. This is about respectful dialogue. All these people have put their names forward to represent your community.
We ask that you please hold applause until all candidates in each section have finished speaking and refrain from interruptions so every candidate has the opportunity to be heard. We'll begin this evening with council candidates. These are individuals who will vote on the issues that come before Municipal Council.
Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to outline their platform, explain why they are running, and share their priorities.
You may use your time as you wish, but we do ask that you stay within the 2-minute limit so everyone has equal opportunity.
You will hear a bell at the 1-minute 50 mark, so 150, and again at the 2-minute mark when your time is up. If you go too far over that 2-minute mark, just remember that for television, that means your mic will be cut, so it's really not worth your time except for maybe trying to get to the people in the room here today any more information. So try to stick to that 2 minutes.
Candidates will be invited to the microphone in alphabetical order by ward. When your name is called, please come forward.
Okay, and we're about to kick things off with Ward 1.
Chandra Best.
Your time starts now.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. My name is Chandra Best, and I'm running for council in Rural Ward 1 because I want to serve the community I chose to call home. I believe local government works best when decisions are well-informed, transparent, and focused on local priorities that matter to residents, businesses, and the community as a whole. Through my 35-year career in public service, I learned how government works. I also learned that service is about listening, communicating clearly, being accountable, and following through. Over the last 4 years, I've spent a ton of time learning how our local government works, asking tough questions, and helping residents better understand the issues and decisions affecting our community. I didn't decide to run first and then start learning. I've been doing the work, and I'm prepared to keep doing it as a councillor. My priorities will guide my questions, my vote, and how I work with residents and other council members. First, keeping life affordable, including making sure rural residents are not paying for services that they don't receive. Second, being clear and transparent. I want to help make decisions people can understand and trust. Third, making sure rural voices are heard and properly considered, especially on issues like services, taxes, and land use. Fourth, supporting growth that makes sense and respects how people want to live and use their property. And fifth, taking a practical and compassionate approach to community challenges like homelessness, with a focus on public safety, stability, and mitigating impacts on nearby residents and neighborhoods. If elected, I will bring good judgment, a commitment to transparency and accountability, and a collaborative approach to serving this community. I'd be honored to have your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra. We will now hear from Chris Booth.
I'm Chris Booth for Ward 1. See my Facebook profile and brochure. My entire plan is written. Anyone who is not being transparent or accountable. I have a plan for economic growth, tourism, and reducing crime. We need a council that will do what it needs to be done. I will play hardball when it comes to meth and fentanyl. Homeowners are not the tenants. You are the owners. Your tax dollars do not buy control over you. They pay for maintenance of the town you already own. Thank God St. Stephen people are hard to fool and push around. I am from here. That is why I'm proud to stand up for you. Please show you are too. Vote Chris Booth, Rural Ward 1 Councillor. And I'll read from my brochure. We will oppose policies that do not reflect the will of the people. We will ensure the 15-minute city pilot project not be St. Stephen. We can work to bring tourism and manufacturing back. We will diversify our economic portfolio. We will fight to protect our rural lifestyle, prioritizing farming and small businesses. We will retract far overreaching bylaws. We will keep emergency and hospitals in top condition. Transparency, no more closed-door deals. We will work to reduce drug-related crime and homelessness. We will lower taxes through ventures. Thank you.
Chris?
We now move to Brian Cornish.
I'm Brian Cornish, running from Ward 1. I bring experience, but more importantly, I bring the willingness to speak up, push forward, stand firm when it matters. I'm not here to give empty promises. I'm here with a practical, common sense approach to the issues that matter most to our rural community. In my past career, I worked as an engineering manager and an international business consultant. But like many of you, I chose to come home. I live in Mayfield. I grew up here, left, gained my education and experience, and returned to my rural roots because this is where I belong. Since returning, over the past several years, I have been committed to serving the community. I sit on the Southwest Regional Planning Advisory Committee for 14 years. I raised funds with my daughter and others for the Charlotte County IWK Committee, and as of date, we've raised over $450,000 for sick children. My first role, when I returned, I was appointed to the Garcelon Center Construction Advisory Committee, and today you can see what the project has become. As a rural resident and your neighbor, I understand the challenges we face, the conditions of our road, access to emergency service, access to forest roads for forest fires, and raising of property assessments. I understand it. I'm not promised we can do anything about that part. But these are not abstract concerns. They affect our homes, our safety, and our livelihood. I believe in responsible growth that brings jobs, support local businesses, and increased opportunities while protecting the character of our community. Many of you also know I have been a strong advocate for clean air and water, especially concerning the St. Croix. I won't stop, I won't quit on this issue. I will continue pushing for a safer, healthier place for all of us to call home. I bring my experience in the bylaw development, property improvement, strategic planning, and I know how to take ideas and turn them into action, and just as importantly, how to follow through. I'll listen, I'll work, I'll push hard for real measurement results. If you want a stronger, safer, and more suitable future for our community, I will ask for your support. Thank you very much.
We will next hear from Wade Greenlaw.
Good afternoon. My name is Wade Greenlaw, and I'm reoffering as a rural ward councillor because I care deeply about the future of our community and its residents. With today's economic pressures that families and businesses are facing, affordability must stay front and center in the decisions we make. At the same time, those decisions need to continue supporting the services we rely on. That means taking the time to listen, understand concerns, and work through issues together to find practical and balanced solutions. I take a thoughtful, steady approach to decision-making because what we do at the council table has long-term impacts. Our community works best when there's mutual respect, open communication, and space to consider different perspectives. I make myself available to residents, I try to ask hard questions, and I focus on making decisions that reflect today's needs while keeping tomorrow's opportunities in mind. Fiscal responsibility and awareness must be at the core of everything we do. Council is responsible for municipal spending, and that comes with the duty to be thoughtful, transparent, and deliberate with every dollar. That means doing the work, understanding the details, and not rushing decisions. We're seeing some real momentum right now with the projects like the new Amsterdam Inn and the Dock apartment building. These key anchor developments are expected to result in further spin-offs and growth. I want to ensure we build on that as well as our other strengths. At the same time, we need to plan strategically and address challenges like our infrastructure needs. If we make smart choices, we can grow in a way that supports families, strengthens businesses, and attracts new residents and investment. I'm also concerned with our municipal bylaws. Some need to be reviewed and updated to better reflect current community needs and changing local conditions. I also think there's room to improve how proactively and consistently they're enforced so that expectations are applied fairly and issues are dealt with in a timely manner. If we make progress here, it'll go a long way towards strengthening trust and confidence in how local government is working for the people. I want to do my part to help council work as a team. If we work together, stay focused on what matters to residents, and keep communication open, I believe we can move forward in a way that earns and keeps the respect, trust, and confidence of the people we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you, Wade. We now move on to Justin Wesselink.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Justin Wesselink, and I've been called many things over the past 36 years. Farm boy, construction worker, mechanic, truck driver, entrepreneur, and finally father. I'm hoping after May 11th that I'm able to be called one more thing, and that would be Ward 1 Councillor. The best way to describe my platform would be farm, family, and future, focusing on transparency, accountability, and community input and engagement. I know the struggles that farmers and small businesses are facing. I feel that I have a strong connection to those individuals and those people who know that hard work pays off. Amending certain bylaws would encourage growth in our agriculture sector, allowing existing and new family-owned businesses to grow and thrive. I have three main priorities that I would like to work or help with in the next 4 years. First being downtown public safety. Number two, I would like to amend bylaw Z4. This bylaw defines specific zones and sets standards. It restricts agricultural activities, preventing food production, and places excessive control on rural and private property. Given the uncertainty, number three, given the uncertainty of the provincial large animal veterinarian and lab services, I'd like to help establish and or attract a private large animal vet to support St. Stephen and surrounding areas. Those of us who own farm animals and large animals have been put in a very tight situation. Animal welfare is a major concern, and we need this type of service to keep our animals healthy, safe, and keep our farms operating. I'm running for office to bring a farmer's, entrepreneur's, and neighbor's voice back to council chambers. I bring with me my varied work experience, dedication, and hard-working spirit. I know what it takes to get a job done, and that hard work pays off. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Wow, those were your candidates for Ward 1. So there are 3 to elect from your Ward 1 candidates. We're moving on now to Ward 2, 3 to elect, and we have 8 candidates. We will begin alphabetically with Bernadette Cunningham.
So my name's Bernadette Cunningham. Most of you would know me as Bernie. I've been in the community for 20 plus years, and I've been running a business for 10 years. So I ran that business because I saw something missing. I saw people wanting something, and I thought I could fill that void, so I tried stepping into that. One of the ways that I had to get out of my comfort zone was being willing to stand in front of people, be willing to be seen, and I've been doing that, and that's part of why I'm here today. I've had a front row seat to what's going on in St. Stephen, and that's been from watching out of my business windows, from up above, being downtown, and it's from you guys coming into my store, into my business, and showing me what's going on. We're hurting, we're suffering, our roads, our water, we've got so many things that are in disrepair, and we need help, and I want to step into that role. There's nothing like having a dangerous and unsightly building that's attached to you to make you pay attention. So I've been asking questions, I've been asking, whose job is it, are they doing that? I don't think those questions should be offensive, but they have been to many people. And I'm gonna continue asking that, and I'm gonna also continue saying, can we get all staff, anyone receiving an employee money from the municipality to meet a bare minimum standard? I think it's required, and that's something that I really want to see happen. I don't think we only have problems and issues in this community, we also have things to celebrate. So as a citizen, I've stepped up, I've dealt with the dangerous unsightly that was attached to me, and I've also tried to create things to make the community smile. I can't just deal with problems, I have to have smiles in my community, in my environment. So I've asked weird questions like, can we have a helicopter dropping Easter eggs out? So I created created an event just because I needed to have different conversations. So we had 1,000 people attend, 8,000 eggs on the ground. I've got 18,000 for next year already. So thank you for your time, and I really hope that I can have your support and represent you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette. We're now going to move to Anthony Hall.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Hall, and I've proudly called St. Stephen home for 53 years. I want to start by being honest with you. I'm not a career politician. I'm a regular person from this community who cares deeply about where we're headed. I'm running because I want to be a voice for the people, for fairness, transparency, and accountability in how decisions are made. I believe in our community. I believe in our community works best when decisions are made together, not in silos. That means listening to residents, working collaboratively around the table, and being open to new ideas and evidence-based solutions. We need leadership that is willing to adapt, think practically, and ensure voice is heard, especially those who are often overlooked. There are two areas that are especially close to my heart: housing and recovery. Housing is one of the biggest challenges we face, and I understand that personally. I've experienced homelessness, and I've worked through recovery. That experience shaped my understanding of how important safe, stable housing is, not just as shelter, but as a foundation for rebuilding lives. My focus is simple and practical: expanding affordable housing, supporting people across the full housing continuum, encouraging smart rezoning, and making sure housing connects with recovery supports. I'm not here with empty promises. I'm here with real experience and commitment to real solutions. If elected, I'll listen, I'll show up, and I'll work hard for every resident in this community. Thank you.
We will next hear from Marg Harding.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'll give you a little bit of personal history about myself for those who don't know me. I am married to Jeff Harding. I have 2 children, Darren Miller and Melanie Miller. Melanie, who's in the audience here with me today. I have 2 British grandchildren, Isabel and Emmeline Miller. I retired in 2011 after 31 years with the Canada Border Services Agency as a customs inspector. I am a founding member of Fundy House for Battered Women. My husband and I did Meals on Wheels here in the town for 12 years, and now I am the chairperson of the Task Force for the Wellbeing Task Force here in St. Stephen. I've been honored to serve as your town councillor since 2004. I've been part of key decisions, including the Garcelon Civic Center, the aerial fire truck, and one most of all, which is very important to me, the removal of the fees from the William T. Booth Centennial Pool, the amalgamation of the Municipal District of St. Stephen. More recently, council supported, the council that I was on, supported new housing, a hotel, a walking clinic, and important infrastructure upgrades. I have a great deal of support for the LGBT community, and public service and illicit drug use are things that really matter to me. I voted against funding that led to the shelter on Main Street, believing that it would create safety issues. When those concerns became a reality, I brought a motion forward to relocate the shelter. If I get elected, I am going to bring the same motion again to relocate the shelter. St. Stephen is a caring town. People are extremely nice and they're extremely caring. But compassion must be balanced with safety. I wish everybody good luck on May 11th, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Marg.
We now move to David Heislip.
Yeah, I'm Dave Heislip, running for Ward 2 Councillor for the Municipal District of St. Stephen. First of all, I'd like to thank all the candidates for stepping up. It's very important. I was born in St. Stephen, raised rurally in Moores Mills until we moved back into St. Stephen before I graduated from St. Stephen High in 1982. I moved away to go to school and returned home in 2001. I have deep roots in St. Stephen. My Uncle Bert used to work at the Ganong's factory. My grandfather ran Heislip's Skiffs, which was the unsightly and dangerous property that got tore down, but it's not there anymore. It used to be Stewart's Gifts. That was way back before I was born. My father, Bob, was a superintendent at Canada Customs. My Aunt Betty was a teacher at the high school in St. Stephen. And my mother, Dot, was on town council for several terms and a member of almost every committee and board in Charlotte County and beyond. I have a vested interest in this town and its well-being. I've been on council for 10 years. I've attended over 300 council meetings in that time and only recall missing a handful. I've found it invaluable to attend meetings where other communities are involved. It's very important to understand the issues happening in other communities so we can apply to our own community. I know what council can and cannot do, as well as its responsibilities. I also know that I can't make you any political promises, as I turns into we when we get on council. I only have one vote on council, which will be composed of 7 members. I do take my vote seriously and do the research and my due diligence before I cast it. I base my vote on the information presented in the public input when it is received, always keeping the well-being of the community and all its residents in mind. I'm asking for your vote on May 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We will now hear from Stephen Morgan.
For the past 4 years, my family has proudly called St. Stephen home. Since moving to the community, I've been an active observer of the unique challenges and the incredible opportunities facing our great town. I believe that effective leadership starts with listening and ends with action. We are a town with deep roots and enormous potential, but potential only becomes progress when we work together. I will bring a steady hand, a listening ear, to be a voice for the community so people feel heard, valued, and included. I began my public service in the military reserve, where I learned the value of teamwork, accountability, and staying calm under pressure. Those years shaped my approach to leadership. Lead from the front, take responsibility, and never ask others to do what I would not do myself. In my civilian career, I worked as a tool and die maker, a trade that demands precision, patience, and the ability to turn complex challenges into practical solutions. That experience taught me how to think critically, work efficiently, and understand the importance of strong local industry and strong trades and communities. I'm currently serving as the commanding officer of a local cadet corps. Guiding young people as they develop confidence, discipline, and leadership has been one of the most rewarding roles of my life. It has reinforced my belief that by building strong communities, we are investing in the next generation and providing them with opportunities to live and grow within it. These experiences have shaped who I am and how I will serve the residents of St. Stephen. These are the foundations of what I will bring to council: practical experience, steady leadership, and a commitment to help St. Stephen thrive. My campaign is not about grand promises. It's about a council that shows up, rolls up its sleeves, and gets things done. I'm ready to do that work, and I'm asking you to join me. Together, we can shape the future of St. Stephen, one decision, one conversation, and one vote at a time.
Stephen.
We're now going to go to Ken Parker.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Ken Parker. I've lived in the municipality for over 50 years. During that time, myself, along with my wife Paulette and sons Brad and Kurt, have operated small businesses and served on many organizations. In the past, I was elected to council for 6 terms. I'm running this time because I have concerns with the drug and homeless issues, and in my opinion, these are 2 separate issues, and they must be dealt with separately. What's being done is not working. There has to be a change. A couple of other issues of equal importance is our deteriorating infrastructure and water quality. I am an open-minded person, transparent, and willing to talk to everyone. For me to address these concerns, I ask for your support on May the 11th. And thanks for coming out this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
We're now going to go to Mark Howard Porter.
Good day. Glad to see everybody's out here. I'm Mark Porter, running in Ward 2. I've lived in the community for 39 years and am a member of the Kiwanis Club for the same length of time. My 43-year career as a professional accountant has allowed me to accumulate expertise with local governments and the regional service commissions. As a local government, council needs to provide an environment which is conducive to future business and housing development. My first priority is to ensure the quality of our drinking water supply and determine whether water production will be sufficient to meet our future needs. Next is planning for the future. Due to the long, useful life of municipal infrastructure, council needs to develop a long-term capital investment plan to determine how and when future expenditures will be financed and the impact of those expenditures on future property tax rates and water rates. Contracts need to be awarded to certified and qualified entities based on lowest cost. And while canvassing door to door, I heard concerns from the residents of Milltown. I want them to know that Milltown is a part of our community and will not be forgotten. The issue of drug addiction, poverty, and homelessness are affecting our community. These are provincial responsibilities, and the municipality does not have the expertise or resources to deal with these problems. There is no quick fix for the problem, and it will not disappear. However, the municipality needs to initiate regular discussions with all the parties involved in order to identify solutions which will minimize the impact on the community. Thank you for listening to me.
And finally, we will hear from Ilia Verdeas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ilia Verdeas. I am here today because my wife suggests I should. I'm up here because I look at the direction that the world is going right now. I look at the struggles that we're all facing and things like affordability, and I feel like I could be one of those people who sits back and hopes someone else fixes the problems, or I could be the one who gets up here and tries. So I am up here to try. My platform is based on three major kind of points. The first one is on affordability. We are seeing absolutely skyrocketing food prices, along with other essential needs that we just cannot afford anymore. And I want to do something about that. My bright idea is to connect with other municipalities, because I believe New Brunswick is uniquely positioned in terms of infrastructure to get public grocery stores off the ground. And having real competition here would help bring grocery prices down. In addition to that, I also strongly believe in the power of community. I believe in people. I believe in the programs here that make St. Stephen a wonderful place, like the Charlotte County Time Bank, like Neighborhood Works, and other public programs that help make our community strong, and I want to continue to support them. And finally, my third point, I believe in improving quality of life here. Our infrastructure needs work. We need to make our community a place people want to be and want to stay, and that means that we have work to do. And I want to help make sure that life here is as wonderful for everyone as we can possibly make it within the means that we have available to us. And I'm not a lifetime politician. I'm doing this for the very first time. My heart is pounding out of my chest. But this matters, and so I am trying to overcome a lot of anxiety to ask you to trust me. So please. I just want to do what's best for everyone. So I would appreciate that opportunity if you trust me to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ilia. And that was all of your Ward 2 candidates.
Round of applause for everybody. We want to thank all the candidates for sharing their perspectives this evening.
And a big thank you to the Municipal District of St. Stephen and the St. Stephen and Area Chamber of Commerce for helping out spread word and also giving us this wonderful space for this event. We're going to take a quick break, but we will be right back with your mayoral candidates. Stay with us.
From the Garcelon Civic Center in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, you're watching Meet Your Candidates, St. Stephen Votes on CHCO Television. We'll be right back after these messages. CHCO Television is proud to present Meet Your Candidates, St. Stephen Votes. Here are your moderators, Vicki Hogarth and Nathalie Sturgeon.
Welcome back to Meet Your Candidates, St. Stephen Votes. I'm Vicki Hogarth.
And I'm Nathalie Sturgeon. We're now turning to the Mayoral Forum. Joining us tonight are three candidates seeking to serve as mayor of the Municipal District of St. Stephen.
Please welcome, in alphabetical order, Stephen C. Bachman,
Mark Grillo,
and Joyce Wright. Could give a round of applause. We will begin with opening statements. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to give their remarks.
Well, we will proceed in alphabetical order, beginning with Stephen Bachman.
Following opening remarks, candidates will respond to a series of questions submitted by members of the public and reviewed and vetted by CHCO-TV.
Each candidate will have heard the questions for the first time today.
And again, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to give their response to the question.
To ensure fairness, we'll rotate who answers the question first.
So for opening statement, Steve, you will start. For question 1, Mark, you will start. For question 2, Joyce, you will start, and we'll rotate and so on.
We ask that the audience holds their applause until the end of the evening. The forum will conclude with closing statements, again 2 minutes each.
We are ready to kick things off. We're going to begin with opening statements. And Steve, you will be the one to start. For your 2 minutes, start right now.
Oh, thank you. And first of all, I'd like to thank everybody here tonight, this afternoon, for coming. It's so great to see a full room on our first beautiful sunny day when everybody would normally be home now raking their lawns. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate your support. And as you know, my name is Steve Bachman, and I came to St. Stephen area in 1988. I was very fortunate at the time to be adopted by this wonderful community. And shortly after moving here, somebody decided that I needed a blind date, and they set me up with my future wife. And she happens to be here this evening, so I have a lot to thank St. Stephen for, and I have a lot to thank Charlotte County for. And with that, I really have had a great opportunity to work with a huge number of people in this community, and it really speaks to the heart that is within this community and the willingness people are to step up to solve solutions. And personally, I believe that we have a very strong and connected community, and we need to build on that firm foundation to take us into the next century. We should be proud. We're proud where we live, and we should spend a lot of time engaging with our neighbors to make sure that we are open with our communication. My take on council is that council and the town administration are servants of the community, not the other way around. So we should be basing our goals and objectives on the needs which you tell us what they are. My priorities for me will be to open up council so that you have not one, not two, but multiple ways to get your opinion and your voices heard. It's important that we listen, because when people don't feel heard, they start to get angry, and we break down those nice ties that hold our community together. Working together, we build. Arguing, we separate. And in council, though, arguing is an important part. I believe in strong debate.
Your time is up.
Sorry.
Thank you, Steve.
Mark, your 2 minutes start now.
Well, friends and neighbors, this is the part where maybe it's the expectation that I roll out my resume, how I founded and run a corporation, or how I have 2 university degrees, or sit on a service club board and a nonprofit board, and have experience on a leadership team with a multi-million-dollar budget and 2 decades of professional communications experience. I could also tell you that no, I'm not from here. Let's get it on the table. I'm the guy from away. But I chose to live here over anywhere else in the world. But I don't want to talk as much about me here. I want to talk about us, and that's for 2 reasons. First, this is something I learned in business. You don't really care about me or my history or where I'm from until you believe I'm the person who can help us solve our problem. And second, a mayor is about others, listening to and serving their council and their community. I'll tell you why I'm offering to serve as your mayor. It's because when I moved here 8 years ago, I believed I didn't need to bother myself with municipal stuff, because wherever I lived, someone else was always taking care of that. But then I started to live here, and I saw roads getting worse, people's sense of safety getting worse, housing getting worse, often getting no answers from council. And oh look, we're boiling our water again. So I realized that someone else doesn't necessarily got this, that maybe with my experience in business and leadership and service and communication, I could be part of the solution with you. I have a question for you. If your answer is yes, please clap your hands. Yes, I'm asking for participation. I do this for a living. Who here wants to be proud of the place you call home? Who wants to be proud of the place you call home? All right. Another question. Who here is proud of St. Stephen in its current state? All right, see, so that gap, and I'm glad to hear some applause, that gap is where I want to spend the next 4 years. And so that 4 years from now, you can applaud just as loudly to both questions. So this afternoon, I'm excited to answer your questions and share how I plan to lead a council you trust with an action plan that we can get behind, so we're building up the St. Stephen we love to a place we're proud to call home.
That's 2 minutes, Mark. Thank you. Joyce, you have 2 minutes, and they start right now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for CHCO and the municipality for hosting this event, and thank you to all of you for being here. It's an honor to stand before you today and tell you who I am and why I'm running to be your mayor. I am Joyce Wright. I was born here, raised here, stayed here, and still here. My address growing up was R4 St. Stephen, and I attended all 3 St. Stephen schools. But there came a day when I was told I wasn't from St. Stephen. I found that a bit shocking and a bit offensive, but I loved the rural life, and even as an adult, I chose the rural life to raise our 6 children. Today, I still choose the rural life. Aside from the rural perspective that I bring to the council table, I also bring almost a decade of proven public governance experience. In January 2015, I was elected to the Regional Service Commission Board of Directors, where I sat with 16 mayors and regional rural representatives like myself. I served as chair of that board for 5 consecutive years. We were true partners there in growth, development, and improvement of our communities. Here are just a handful of our major accomplishments at the RSC board. We established the Blue Bin recycling program for the region. We built the framework for municipalities to source their inspection and planning through the RSC, and the building on Wall Street that we invested in still operates those services today. We partnered with the Trans-Canada Trail to see trail expansion in our region, including our own beautiful waterfront trail right outside these windows. We established the very first housing capacity study for the region, which continued to guide the housing developments that we're still seeing today. There at that table, we set the example of unity between rural and urban, positivity, and foundational planning for success of our communities. And when I give my closing remarks, I will focus on how I carried those same principles and successes into my time as council since 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. We are now moving on to the question part of the evening. So again, Mark will start first.
Our first question is, the municipal district of St. Stephen includes both urban and rural communities with different needs and priorities. How would you ensure all voices are heard and represented in your decision making as mayor?
Mark, your time starts right now.
As I've knocked on doors in Ward 1 and gotten to know my rural neighbors, I've heard everything from just leave me the hell alone, I live out here for a reason on one hand, and hey, we need to be more included in what's going on in St. Stephen on the other. So ultimately, we want to make sure that rural freedoms are protected. That's one of the 10 priority items in the municipal plan, to protect rural freedoms. Now, I know for a fact that no one is interested in dispatching a bylaw officer out to Mayfield to count your chickens, especially when we can't seem to enforce urgent bylaws right here in town. That's another conversation for another time. That said, when your next door neighbor is suddenly opening a commercial pig farm, you want to know who to call, and that's where you'll be happy for permits and bylaws. That's one example of the give and take of living together. The other is making sure we keep things fair, and each of us is only paying for what we use. Rural area pays a tax rate of 56 cents per hundred. The urban area pays $1.56 per hundred. That was news to some people whose doors I knocked on. Yes, the rates are different, and it's important important that they are. Rural residents only pay for fire, police, representation, bylaw, resource of the Service Commission, no water infrastructure. They also pay 41 cents to Department of Transportation Infrastructure, that's provincial, for the roads. In the urban ward, we pay for roads and snow clearing and the library and the Civic Center and things that the rural residents don't as much. So, urban and rural, your mayor and your council need to understand and take into account the way we're different, why we live where we do, and at the same time hold sacred our shared values of keeping taxes low and growth sustainable to make sure St. Stephen is right for you wherever in the wards you decided to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Joyce, I'm going to reread the question each time and start your time when we're done reading the question. Joyce, the municipal district of St. Stephen includes both urban and rural communities with different needs and priorities. How would you ensure all voices are heard and represented in your decision-making as mayor?
During the past 3 years on council, I was absolutely an advocate for the rural life. I live rural, so I care very much about what happens in the rural areas. I know what it's like to have your septic need to be pumped. I know what it's like to not have any running water when the power goes out because your well runs on an electric pump. So I'm very much in tune with the rural area. I also know that I live rural for a reason, so I want to protect that lifestyle. But I also know that as a rural resident, and having sat on council, sometimes people will call you and say, how is that ever allowed there? Or my neighbor is doing X and it's affecting my way of life. So we do need reasonable zoning, and that's what this council did. The zoning bylaw that we adopted, I actually advocated for expanded rural agricultural use in that, and agricultural is actually allowed in every zone in our zoning bylaw. But it is a living document that as time goes on, if we feel it needs to be amended, council can absolutely amend that. So I am absolutely passionate about protecting the rural lifestyle, but that means also protecting your ability to see the night sky, your ability to not have a foundry operating next door to you, your ability to make sure your water table is safe because what your neighbor is doing isn't going to ruin your well. So there is balance there. I believe that my testament, having been on council, is that I understand that balance and I will work to preserve that balance.
Thank you, Joyce. Steve, your 2 minutes will begin after I reread the question. The municipal district of St. Stephen includes both urban and rural communities with different needs and priorities. How would you ensure all voices are heard and represented in your decision-making as mayor?
When I first moved here, I lived in Scotch Ridge, and my family history is my mom's from Appahock, and her family was dairy farmers and woodsmen, and my dad's family was from Lunenburg, and they were commercial fishermen. So I understand fully what it's like to be a farmer, and I also know what it's like to live in an urban area. And as Joyce mentioned, the set of bylaws was created, but it was created at a time when they were starting amalgamation. And I think one of the very first things I want to do is to make sure that the people who are living in the rural areas are happy with the bylaws that were imposed upon them. Because I never want to have the claim made against me that I'm telling you what to think or what to do. I think the community needs to tell us how they want to live and what they want to do. And for me, agriculture is feeding our country. Agriculture is the basis of our food supply. So we need to protect those people who are out in the rural areas raising food, but we also need to protect the people who are grown up in the rural areas and make sure that our ideas of what life is like doesn't negatively impact their life and the way they want to live it. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, this is a very fast-moving forum. As you can see, we're already moving on to question 2, which, Joyce, you will be the first person to answer. Again, these questions have all come from you, the public. We are not going to read your name out with it if the question came from you, as it is a compilation of questions. So that's why you might not hear it in the exact way you sent it in. We've also neutralized them for tone. And we hope that you do hear your questions nevertheless represented in what we're about to ask. Joyce, question 2. Recently, the Local Governance Commission recommended to the province that training for municipal leaders and staff be made mandatory. This was a result of issues with governance, code of conduct, and conflict of interest. St. Stephen has discussed incentives or punitive measures for not attending training. How do you ensure, if elected, that your council is up to date on the laws and legislation that govern their mandate?
Thank you. Well, our municipality under this council, with the help of staff, have already started a councillor training program directly for our municipality, tailored for our municipality. And while there's no way for this council or any mayor to enforce it under our current bylaws, we will strongly encourage that. I do believe that the province should have made some training mandatory, but I also understand their hesitancy to do that. I can see it from both perspectives. But it is important to be involved as a councillor and as a mayor. It's important to go to the provincial training sessions. It's important to understand the legislations. And that's where a lot of the conflict comes in sometimes on new councils, is that they don't really understand that. So making those training sessions a priority for a new sitting council is absolutely a focus of mine. You're doing the package that we've already created and are finalizing even now as we speak, and then encouraging councillors and the mayor to sit together regularly to revamp. And we've always had the ability to, our staff has always forwarded us anything from the from the local government that has changed, like they have last year. We get those updates immediately. So staying on top of that and having a session to discuss all of that and make sure we're aware of it is absolutely top priority. It has to be, if we're going to be good council members and mayors, we have to be informed.
Joyce?
Stephen, you're going to answer the question, and your 2 minutes will start after I reread it. Recently, the Local Governance Commission recommended to the province that training for municipal leaders and staff be made mandatory. This was a result of issues with governance, code of conduct, and conflict of interest. St. Stephen has recently discussed incentives or punitive measures for not attending training. How do you ensure, if elected, that your council is up to date on laws and legislation that governs their mandate?
Yes, I reviewed the proposed bylaws, and the incentive one would have added a great deal of cost to the taxpayer because it leaves the door open for people to take courses and collect the extra incentive. And so I'm rather opposed to that because really the taxpayer needs value from that training. So I do think training should be mandatory. I don't think there should be an added incentive. If you're stepping forward to take on the responsibility, you should have the skills to do it. I also feel that we should have an in-house training program for all of the staff within the municipality, simply because things change, technology advances, and the idea of we're going to do it this way because we've always done it kills innovation. At a time when we need innovation, we need training as the basis of it. We're responsible as veterinarians. We have to take 25 hours of continuing education every year. So I would expect all the management staff and the workers to receive training. So I want to develop an HR program.
Thank you, Steve. Mark, you will be the final candidate to answer question 2. I'll read the question again, and your 2 minutes will begin once I finish reading. Recently, the Local Governance Commission recommended to the province that training for municipal leaders and staff be made mandatory. This was the result of issues with governance, code of conduct, and conflict of interest. St. Stephen has discussed incentives or punitive measures for not attending training. How do you ensure, if elected, that your council is up to date on the laws and legislation that govern their mandate?
It sounds like all of us candidates are on the same page when it comes to candidates being trained, councillors being trained, mayors being trained, and knowing what is involved in doing that job. The local government is defined by 4 real qualities: providing good government, that's the first mandate; provide services, facilities, and things the community needs, that's the second; develop and maintain a safe and viable community, number 4; and foster economic, social, and environmental well-being, that's number 4. And so you have those 4 things, and I'd say the biggest issue facing St. Stephen right now is the lack of trust in your council, the very people who make the decisions and determine your quality of life here. And that comes from not knowing what our plan is or where we're going. So in addition to training and making sure we incentivize training, we also need a plan. And so that's why, as your mayor, I'll fulfill the job description of local governance to communicate and to residents on behalf of council. What is your council focused on? What are they doing, and how are they hearing from you? And I'll use a 5-step governance model that I'll share with council as well, so that we are integrating and communicating every decision we make at council to earn back your trust. That means we're going to understand any problem. We fully grasp the scope of any challenge we face. We plan it. We work with staff, council, and anyone affected. Then we deliberate. One of our strengths is when we disagree without being disagreeable. If we're going to minimize mistakes, we need as many eyes and minds on a plan, because iron sharpens iron. We're going to adapt and adopt. That's number 4. After we've determined how to get what we need, we resolve to take action, and then we build. We make sure the place or the service or program actually crosses the finish line. Another reason for the loss of trust is not understanding, and this is what council needs to know, the difference between governance and managing. Your mayor and council decides what gets done, and the municipal staff decides how that gets done. But when the CAO is deciding the what and the council is deciding the how, something's gone really wrong. It's time for St. Stephen's government to work the way it's intended. Staff manages, council governs. That's how I'll build up a council you can trust and that works for St. Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Stephen, you're going to answer question 3 first, and your time will begin after I read the question. Many of the major issues facing St. Stephen, such as housing, homelessness, and water infrastructure, will require coordination and funding support from the province, our MLA, and sometimes the federal government. As mayor, how would you approach building and maintaining effective working relationships with those partners so the community can move forward on these priorities?
Oh, absolutely. That's a very good question, and that's where my resume starts to come into play, because I've had 35 years in corporate management in an international company which has almost 75,000 employees. And the way you move things forward through innovation is to get the right people at the table who are engaged, competent, and willing to put the energy forth to come up with a solution. Every problem has a unique set of solutions, and every problem needs a unique skill set. Housing is such as we're seeing today with the Lana Sarah Hall potentially closing and 13 seniors being put out on the street. We need to address that, and I've been working with a group of concerned citizens, and we're trying to come up with a strategic plan to lend the board assistance and help them solve that problem so that Lana Sarah can stand open. And that's the kind of strategy you need to do to build solutions, is you bring the right people together at the right time with the right set of skills. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Mark, you will be the second to answer question 3. I will reread it right now. Many of the major issues facing St. Stephen, such as housing, homelessness, and water infrastructure, will require coordination and funding support from the province, our MLA, and sometimes the federal government. As mayor, how would you approach building and maintaining effective working relationships with those partners so the community can move forward on these priorities?
Well, friends, it's no secret that I find the delivery of provincial services here in St. Stephen to be utterly lacking. 2 years ago, I stood right here and asked you to send me to Fredericton as MLA so I could advocate for provincial housing services and health care and better policing and school funding and addictions and mental health support and detox and rehab and you name it. Guess what? We still need all of those things. So this is our second chance, I guess. Getting bridge housing in St. Stephen means working with Minister Vicki. Getting detox services when people need them means working with Minister Miles, both of whom I spoke to personally when they were here last month. Replacing crumbling roads and bridges in the rural areas and decaying water system in the urban area means working with Minister Chasson's team so we have the standard of living we need and expect. Having less crime means provincial contracts with the RCMP actually cover the services we need, and Minister McKee's Justice Department understands we're done with open drug dealing in town and we need more patrols. Getting the collaborative care clinic we were promised in early 2026 means working with Minister Dornan's team with Horizon to make sure we're on target for 2027. Oh, and I'm personal friends also with one of the party leaders in Fredericton, and yes, believe me, I'll call in a favor or two. Hi, Mr. Kuhn. Recently on CHCO, Andrea Anderson Mason, the former MLA and minister, gave us a playbook for more success. She said some mayors complained to her that the provincial government isn't giving their municipality the funding they need or deserve. And her response was there were other mayors lined up outside the doors and on the phone to the ministers in Fredericton actively working to bring the money and services their municipalities need. So the job description of mayor is to be your voice for advocacy to the provincial government, and a great mayor will do just that. And I plan to be that guy in Fredericton helping make St. Stephen one of the best places to live in New Brunswick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Joyce, here is question 3. Your time begins after I reread the question. Many of the major issues facing St. Stephen, such as housing, homelessness, and water infrastructure, will require coordination and funding support from the province, our MLA, and sometimes the federal government. As mayor, how would you approach building and maintaining effective working relationships with those partners so the community can achieve those priorities?
Well, if elected, after I'm sworn in, the first thing I'm going to do is make an appointment with our MLA and our MP. Thankfully, I already have good relationships with them casually, although I haven't had that relationship in the office of mayor, admittedly. I have been to provincial events and met many of the ministers and talked to them about the problems that our community is facing. They're not unaware of the challenges we face. Our municipality has successfully applied for many provincial and federal funding partnerships, and that's why we're getting the Budd Avenue extension. That's why we've been able to do some of our sewer and road work. That's why we're going to see the record investments in 2026 for the roads that we put into the 2026 budget. Maintaining that collaboration with our provincial and federal partners is absolutely essential, and it starts with those personal relationships that I will be building to a greater degree once elected and once sworn in. There's no doubt that we have to access the RDC. We have to access all of the tools available to us, and doing so is the only way we're going to be able to do what needs to be done as a municipality. We just don't have the budget to do it ourselves.
Thank you, Joyce. We are moving right along to question 4. Mark, you will begin question 4, and your time will start once I finish reading the question. Many proposals have come forward regarding neighborhood works and the shelter, including moving it outside the municipal boundaries, which has already been tested by the courts. What 3 actions within your municipal guardrails will you take to address the homelessness crisis within the community and help move transitional housing forward?
Day 1, I'm working with council to eliminate the need for the shelter in St. Stephen because we value everyone feeling safe. But unlike some, I will not do this as an opponent of the shelter. There is a group of residents currently suing Neighborhood Works and St. Stephen. And guess what? I'm not their candidate of choice, and I'm proud not to be. Because I understand that shutting down the shelter, attacking the agency that operates it, and putting people who are suffering from substance use disorder on the street is not going to get us where we want to be. That will make the problem even worse. The way we eliminate the need for the shelter is with bridge housing. What is bridge housing? It's how we move people from the dead end of an emergency shelter to where they're loaned their own 8x8 space to have their own bed and door to lock. They sign on as a participant in that residency program with codes of conduct, consent to wellness checks, a caseworker, 24/7 security, and the services they need with accountability and expectation. I've spoken with the ministers of social development and housing personally. They're coming back next month, and they've earmarked provincial dollars to solve St. Stephen's homelessness crisis, but the province is watching us down here chase our own tails with a lack of resolve. The ministers told me we need to find a location to deliver for us the solution that works. Bridge housing works in Duncan, BC, in Peterborough, Ontario, in St. John, in Fredericton, and too many other places to name. It will work here. We have a municipal plan that commits us to addressing homelessness in a compassionate manner. We have a service commission with a mandate to coordinate services that address homelessness and poverty and mental health. We have a provincial government ready to help those of us who are most in need and most at risk. And by gosh, it's time to stop planning to make a plan and actually do something. Location and bridge housing, that's how we eliminate the need for the emergency shelter with your next council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Joyce, your 2 minutes will begin after I reread the question. Many proposals have come forward regarding neighborhood works and the shelter, including moving it outside the municipal boundaries, which has already been tested by the courts. What 3 actions within your municipal guardrails will you take to address the homelessness crisis and move transitional housing forward?
Thank you. I will start by saying I stood here in this room in late 2022, making my pitch to be on council for January 2023. And almost to a single person, every candidate stood up and said, we need to address the homelessness issue. There's no need of people sleeping in this cold and in this freezing rain. And then we get a solution, and when we have a solution, we have problems that come along with a solution. That's natural. The balance becomes providing the compassionate resources that are needed while mitigating the impacts on the broader community. One thing that I can do as a mayor is advocate for our council to consider allocating funds for a home camera system like some other municipalities have done, so that we can see what's going around on our properties. That's within council mandate. I voted against moving the shelter completely outside of the municipal boundaries because our municipality is huge. If you move it, you can't force people to go there. And so what would happen is we would be getting the emails that we got at the first part of council of the challenges being spread across the entire municipality. We do need to partner with the province on the next steps in the housing continuum, the bridge housing, and then the supportive housing, and then the independent housing. It's the only way to eliminate the need for the shelter. Mark is exactly right. The best way to deal with it is eliminate the need for it. I'm absolutely committed to doing that, but it starts with taking small steps in the meantime while we're waiting for those answers to come, starting with small steps that we as a municipality can do, like programs to get cameras, and maybe putting cameras on the new solar light solar lights that we're getting on the trails soon. Maybe that's an added measure of security that council will advocate for. It's going to be a voice of council speaking and not just the voice of the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Steve, you will be the final candidate to answer question 4. Your time will start after I read it. Many proposals have come forward regarding neighborhood works and the shelter, including moving it outside the municipal boundaries, which has already been tested by the courts. What 3 actions within your municipal guardrails will you take to address the homelessness crisis within the community and help move transitional housing forward?
Okay, so I think all 3 of us are pretty much on the same page in terms of working to eliminate the need for the shelter. But from a citizen's point of view, if we're advocating to fix a problem, it's important we don't create another problem by trying to fix one. And every problem, no matter how large, can be solved, again, with the right people around the table, with people being listened to, and approaching that problem one little piece at a time. So the journey of 100 miles begins with the first step. Now, we've taken the first step. We have an emergency shelter, but the emergency shelter is not the answer for long-term future, but we need to bring those people at the table. Like my counterpart here, I've spoken to the 2 ministers, and I've also spoken to the Minister of Health about bringing psychiatry to St. Stephen. So we do not have good mental health support, and we need to find out what's going on. So we have a problem we're lumping together. We have addiction, we have homelessness, and we have probably underpinning a lot of that is mental health issues. So we really need to bring that mental health component to start getting treatment and support, and then we can look at grow that option as we move out to find the proper housing and the proper supports, so that when they do get treatment, they're not ending up back on the street and reoccurring. So prevention, treatment, and follow-up.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Joyce, you're going to answer question 5 first. This question goes sort of hand in hand with the previous question. Your time begins after I read the question. A lot of residents have expressed concerns about public safety within the context of the drug epidemic and the homelessness crisis. How would you balance overall public safety while protecting vulnerable residents?
You're right, they're very related, and I think I've touched on a couple of the ideas that I had already. We do have to balance the greater public safety with the needs of serving our most vulnerable citizens. I will state here for the record that there are a good many people who access the shelter who aren't struggling with addictions. There are seniors that have access there because they have nowhere else to go. So it's important not to lump everybody in the same category. We can balance public safety by advocating for a more suitable location if one is found. Mainly, though, we have to eliminate the need for it by getting the next steps in the housing continuum. For protecting our citizens in the meantime, could council consider a citizen action team that can be used to help with public safety and just patrolling the streets and building relationships with neighbors and clients? Perhaps. Maybe we can't. Those are discussions we have to have with Justice and Public Safety, with police, and as a whole council. But one thing we can do immediately is have that conversation. Do we implement a camera program where you get a rebate if you've proven you've installed a camera on your home and you're willing to allow that to be used, not proactively, but reactively if something happens where you provide that footage? Can we put safety lights on, safety cameras on the walking trail to give citizens more safety and that sense of safety? Absolutely. Are there more great ideas out there that I'm not thinking of in this moment? Absolutely. Having the door open and having your phone on and being able to have those conversations and to get those great ideas from the citizens and then take them back to council, that's all part of the equation as well. I'm not standing here pretending I have all the answers. I have some good ideas, but getting more from the citizens is absolutely something that I want to do and take to council.
Thank you, Joyce. Steve, I will reread the question and then start your time. A lot of residents have expressed concern about public safety within the context of the drug epidemic and homelessness crisis. How would you balance overall public safety while protecting your most vulnerable residents?
Thank you. And yes, that one on the door knocking and visits, that's probably one of the most pronounced concern that's been raised by the people I've spoken with. And they're right, they should not fear going outside. I disagree with putting up more cameras and having people put more locks in the windows and the doors, because the citizens of the municipality shouldn't be locked inside to be safe. They should have free reign and enjoy the community which we have. But that doesn't mean we don't have a responsibility to those vulnerable populations. We need to come up with a solution that serves them. Again, mental health is a part of it, and we need to develop more mental health within the collaborative clinic and I think within the hospital. We also need to focus on how we're going to address those issues. So I think when you brought up the lawsuit, my experience with lawsuits, and I've had a few over the years, is that they are the last-ditch response when people feel they haven't been heard. We need to start listening and hearing, and in order to get this project successfully moving forward, we need both groups coming up with a solution that's applicable to everybody and that we can all agree with. Going down a strict focus line and saying, you're taking this solution, this is what we're doing, that's not going to work because people don't have their say. And I think most important part of any solution is getting the ideas on the table, collaboration, and a willingness from all parties to move forward. And that's my goal and objective in project management.
Thank you, Steve.
Mark, your 2 minutes will begin after I read the question. A lot of residents have expressed concerns about public safety within the context of the drug epidemic and the homelessness crisis. How would you balance overall public safety while protecting vulnerable residents?
Friends, the same question was asked in 2022 of the mayoral candidates and in 2024 to the MLA candidates. Are we making progress on this? Clearly not. Last year, the Canadian Centre for Safer Communities did a survey right here in St. Stephen. 400 of us responded. 57% were concerned about experiencing crime. 40% worried about crime preventing them from doing things they want to do. This is kind of a typical stat across Canada. There are a few ways we can respond as a community. We can say that we're relatively helpless and we don't get a say in how the RCMP patrol or how they operate. Or we can advocate, because with policing being our largest operational expense, $2.5 million a year out of a $15 million budget, it's not unreasonable to ask that drug dealing and break-ins be stopped. But we can't just lean on more policing. There are municipalities all across Canada that have put their best ideas together to solve their safety crisis, and I've been exploring that at length. Places like Prince Edward County, Ontario, brought police, health, and community groups together under one coordinated plan. Duncan, BC combined outreach, housing, and local coordination to stabilize homelessness and improve downtown safety. Miramichi focused on community partnerships and prevention upstream strategies instead of relying only on more enforcement. Prince Albert, BC, introduced community safety officers to create a visible presence. I could go on, but they're all examples of coordination and cooperation and communication. Now, we have a newly formed well-being task force here in St. Stephen. It's made up of a member of council, a member of municipal staff, RCMP, social development, 3 community representatives. We want to see results from this team in the months to come. We want to know if an auxiliary RCMP force is an option, municipal police force, community safety patrols. We want to do what others have done successfully, because if there's one thing I know we're tired of in St. Stephen, it's hearing all the things we can't do to improve safety. If we don't feel safe, we aren't safe. It's time to find out what we can do to be safer in St. Stephen.
Thank you, Mark. Just so everyone knows at home, we are more than halfway done. So here we go. We're going on to question 6. Steve, you will begin with question 6 after I finish reading the question. Affordable housing continues to be a concern in St. Stephen. While it is a provincial mandate, what actions can the municipality take to support housing availability, affordability, and development?
So the municipality has, like you mentioned, has a limited role, but where we do have a lot of potential is in permitting and bylaw amendments. So part of that whole process will be to amend bylaws and start getting rid of some of these derelict properties that could be probably turned into other options for affordable housing or new housing in general. And we haven't done a good job with our bylaws. We haven't done a good job with our bylaw enforcements. So we've got all these buildings that were once housing these people. They were rent-evicted, and then the houses were left to go into disrepair. So that's compounding our unhoused population. And by getting those out of here and bringing in potential, one possibility is to offer the land for free to somebody who wants to develop it. So, but again, this will be a good community discussion to have, and we'll move forward with some options.
Mark, you're going to answer the question after I reread. Affordable housing continues to be a concern in St. Stephen. While it is a provincial mandate, what actions can the municipality take to support housing availability, affordability, and development?
Friends, deja vu all over again. This question was asked of me as an MLA candidate in 2024, and it was asked of the mayors in 2022. I guess that shows how well we're doing. It's still in everyone's minds. I believe housing is what St. Stephen actually needs the most. Now, just about anywhere in North America might say that right now. But when we see a shelter that's full to the brim, when we see boarded up homes all throughout town, when we see seniors moving out of Lonicera with few options and a vacancy rate that's far below provincial or national average, and assessment and taxes rising every year, housing brings the stability that we desperately need in this community. Housing will solve so many of the challenges we're talking about this afternoon, and it's what I call kind of the positive housing loop that's kick-started by housing, where when you have more housing, you have more people. When you have more people, you have more customers. Where there are more customers, businesses start to open up. Where there's businesses, there's jobs. Where there's jobs, there's activity in the town. Where there's activity, there's safety. And where there's safety, there's more people and more housing, etc. The mayor is actually a marketer for the municipality. Now, as someone who's had to survive by marketing their own business, I've got that covered. I can promote St. Stephen, how awesome it is all day long. What that looks like for housing, though, is communicating to developers not just that St. Stephen needs housing, but why builders build here. It means coordinating with developers at every level, and preferably local ones, of course, with incentives that are fiscally sustainable. When it comes to us taxpayers paying for the pipes and the pavement that go along with those developments. And then it means ensuring that development is moving in cooperation with sustainable growing tax bases so that we can keep the tax rates low. So most of the current challenges here in St. Stephen are addressed by building up every level of housing on the continuum, from supportive housing to affordable housing to market housing to seniors housing, for the good of every resident who wants to make St. Stephen home, and that's what I'll focus on as your mayor as a #1 priority.
Thank you, Mark. Joyce. Affordable housing continues to be a concern in St. Stephen. While it is a provincial mandate, what actions can the municipality take to support housing availability, affordability, and development?
Thank you. Well, there's a fundamental misunderstanding sometimes of what the municipality can and can't do when it comes to the Dangerous and Unsightly Premises Act. That's regulated and set out by the province, and we have to abide by that to avoid court challenges. The Starshine properties that we experienced here and that are such a challenge served a purpose in our community, whether we liked it or not, of very low income housing. When that owner walked away, those properties are now going through the tax sale process. 2 were on the tax sale that just happened last week. I don't know whether they sold or not. I heard they did, but I didn't check the official record. What this council has done, and what I will continue to do, is number one, we had to revamp our corporate services department, get our audits and our budgets on time. We did that. Now that we are caught up, now that we have the technology in place to help us be a more responsive community, we can capitalize on the successes that we've already made in housing. We have federal infrastructure funding to extend Bud Avenue to open up the vacant land there for more housing. Talks are already underway with developers. The developer for the dock coming at the old arena property has said through Future St. Stephen and to our mayor how pleased they were with how the municipality worked with them and how their goal is as a municipality to get to a yes. How can we make this happen? We also did a bylaw amendment which allowed more units to be built at the former Wandling building. So we are chipping away at it. We have done what we can. We can't force developers to come, but our incentive package has been successful, continues to be successful, and Future St. Stephen that we partner with has done a developers package that they are marketing. They are our economic development agency, and it's important that we continue to work in the roles that we have. So we have an economic development partner. We work with them. They are helping with our housing, and we've had many successes.
Thank you, Joyce. Mark, you're going to answer question 7 first, and your 2 minutes start after I read the question. Residents expect transparency from their local government, but social media can be a fragmented and sometimes messy, confusing space. What would you put in place to ensure communication is clear, consistent, and comes from trusted official sources?
Have you ever purchased something and then something goes wrong with it, and then when you reach out to the company to get your refund or your warranty or get answers, they stonewall you or ghost you, and then you turn into like a monster you never knew existed? When I set out to run for mayor, I thought long and hard about what it is our community needs. And I knew I'd learn specifics from you knocking on your doors, but I also knew one thing, that St. Stephen doesn't need Mark for mayor. That's why you're not going to see Mark for mayor on my signs or on my emails. What St. Stephen needs is a mayor who's focused on building up St. Stephen. And that's not just about buildings and programs and services, but let me be clear, it is that, but it's also about building up each other. There's too much tearing down going on in this beautiful community of great people. It's not the majority, but any is too much. Now, I have empathy for the most angry residents in St. Stephen because I think it's been well earned by not being listened to and not being given facts. But maybe being divided and tearing each other down, I believe, is not who we are. Maybe that's how things could get under the previous council, but I'm going to think that that's no more. So that's why, as mayor, I'm going to set out to turn down the temperature by making sure everyone has a place to share concerns and ideas and passions. First, I'll host mayoral town halls. Second, I'll put out a mayoral email and paper copy newsletter so you have facts that you can respond to. 3, I will be on social media, giving information, making videos the way I have been on a council today as a candidate. Today was video 83. I'll be doing breakdowns the way I've been doing as a candidate to give you a place to respond and, yes, even complain. Communicating well is a two-way street. Your council is bound by a code of conduct, and council needs to be able to hear constructive criticism. The helpful distinction between destructive and constructive criticism is asking, am I attacking the problem, and am I presenting a solution, and am I open to it? When we all raise our expectations on how we listen and speak to each other, that's how we build one another, and that's how we rise to any challenge with the respect and community spirit that's true to who we are in St. Stephen, and that's what I will foster.
Thank you, Mark. Joyce, I will read the question again. Residents expect transparency from their local government, but social media can be a fragmented and sometimes messy and confusing space. What would you put in place to ensure communication is clear, consistent, and comes from trusted official sources?
Thank you. Mark is right. Council is bound by a code of conduct and confidentiality that the public isn't required to adhere to. So sometimes getting a message out, by the time you get it out, the walls are already up by information that's already been shared. And that is a challenge that we have to overcome. We have hired a communications officer to help us with that, and he's just getting his feet under him this year. We will capitalize on that role and continue to use social media because the statistics show that's what most of our citizens use to get their information from. I've also been active on social media. I've also made a commitment to use the CHCO-TV Chat with the Mayor opportunity that they've always provided, and I will make sure my voice is heard that way. Mark's ideas were on the same wavelength some about having, I like what Premier Holt does with the Monday update for what she's going to be doing that weekend, and I already thought that's a great idea. I should be doing that if I'm elected as mayor. So can we improve? Yes. Have we already? Yes. This council put in place the Access E11 and the alertable apps for improved citizen communication. And we also held more public engagement opportunities than ever in this municipality's history. Is there room for improvement? Always. There's never going to be a municipality that you can say is perfect or that didn't miss somebody or miss sharing something in the workload. We are going to continue to improve, and as mayor, I will absolutely be engaged and active in communicating with citizens.
Thank you, Joyce. Steve, your 2 minutes will begin after I read the question. Residents expect transparency from their local government, but social media can be a fragmented and sometimes messy, confusing space. What would you put in place to ensure communication is clear, consistent, and comes from trusted official sources?
Thank you. That's an excellent question, and it's one of those other issues that people have constantly raised. And discern happens when people aren't feeling they're being listened to or they have input. So I'm planning to entrench into our new process an afternoon every week. So every day, every Wednesday or every Thursday, there will be a counselor available for coffee and conversation. When I've been doing these coffee and conversations around around our ward, 2 wards, that's when I've got a lot of one-on-one personal contact, and people open up, and it's non-confrontational. And as a former sales manager of mine once said, he said, "God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak." And I think that's important for our council to move forward with. What we're doing now with getting input during public council meetings, I've been really disappointed in how that's been going. People will stand up to the microphone, express their concerns, and then councillors look down the paper and move right on to the next subject or vote on that same piece of legislation, which the person was raising a concern about. So I'm going to be forcing councillors, if I get there, to respond to those questions and ask questions, and if it's a point that really needs to be followed up, we'll put the vote on hold until we get that information. So we should be going out to you to find out what your concerns are, not expecting you to contact us. So that'd be my priority, is to shift the focus on us rather than shift the focus on the people of the community.
Great, thank you, Steve. We're at our final question. This will be question 8 is our last question that we have vetted, and then we will get to closing statements after that. So take a moment while you're listening to your fellow candidates. If there's something you haven't addressed and you want to jot it down for closing statements that you feel you haven't been asked, and this goes for people at home and also in the audience here. Your candidates will be here after. If you're watching at home, their email, their phone numbers are available through Elections New Brunswick. You can find the contact information for your candidates. If there's a question you still need answered, reach out. I know that they are all available via email and also in person and by the phone. So make sure you get questions answered if you still have them after this. And candidates, please make sure if there's something you feel very important needs to be addressed that you haven't had a chance to touch on yet, your closing statements are coming up. But we're heading into the last question that we have vetted, and it's question 8, and we are starting with Joyce. A report from the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick shows on average 85% of municipalities receive the revenue they need to operate through property tax. Last year, the Holt government froze the provincial assessment portion. Can you explain how that affects municipal revenue and what you would advise council to do if it happens again in 2027?
Thank you. So the province sets your assessment value for your home, and then the municipality sets the municipal tax rate. When the province froze tax assessments, we also froze our municipal tax rate. So essentially, if you hadn't made any improvements to your home or just bought it, your tax bill should have stayed the same if all things were equal from the year before. Without knowing what the province is going to do for tax reform, it's hard to say what the next council is going to have to address when it's doing its budget for 2027. What I can say, though, is that as a municipality, our electricity bill rises, just like yours does. As a municipality, the cost of our goods that we consume to keep the lights on rises just like yours does. So we have shown extreme fiscal restraint in having 2 tax decreases and 1 tax hold steady over the past 4 budgets. We will continue to do that by taking advantage of all of the other transfers that come from the federal and provincial governments and making sure that we use your tax dollars wisely. Everything has been open to the public. Our pre-budget planning sessions have been done on a screen where citizens could see everything, and that will continue. So mitigating the impacts of any tax freeze is going to take the same dedication to transparency about our tax dollars, just like we've done, and to being accountable for them and being wise with what we do with the taxes that come from our property taxes, which we all hate to pay. Thank you.
Steve, your 2 minutes will begin after I reread the question. A report by the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick shows on average municipalities receive 85% of their revenue through property tax. Last year, the Holt government froze the provincial assessment portion. Can you explain how that affects municipal revenue and what you would advise council to do if it happens again in 2027?
Okay, so about taxes. Nobody wants to pay them, but we all need them. And as Joyce pointed out, it's a very simple formula. It's A times B equals C. So it comes down for the municipality to a budget. So the tax assessment times our tax rate gives us our revenue. So if the revenue for St. Stephen next year is $14.5 million, we set the tax rate to account for the assessment. So the 2 are independent variables and controlled by 2 different bodies. The key for good fiscal management is proper budgeting. So our budgets should be, I'm proposing to put the budget time 6 months earlier, because a budget is not a document that says I can spend this amount of money. The budget should be the template for your strategic plan. And as I think Mark Porter pointed out earlier, we need a long-term strategic plan. Then we cost that strategic plan, and then we go back to the public and say, this is, from the feedback you've given us, this is the programming you want us to follow up, this is the infrastructure work we want to do, this is what it's going to cost. Now, let's prioritize those so that we get the most important ones done, and how much are you willing to pay to have that done? And if you're not willing to pay that much, then we have to prune the list down. But budget, strategic plan, and then you worry about the revenue later.
Thank you, Steve.
Mark, you're going to get the final word on the last question. A report by the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick shows that on average 85% of the revenue that municipalities need to operate come from property tax. Last year, the Holt government froze the provincial assessment portion. Can you explain how that affects municipal revenue and what you would advise council to do if it happens again in 2027?
In New Brunswick, municipalities like St. Stephen get their revenue from 3 sources: from fees, from grants, and most heavily from property tax. That's where almost $10 million of our $14+ million budget came from last year. So that means your home assessment multiplied by the tax rate funds almost everything we do: the roads, the fire protection, the planning, everything. But here's the problem. That system doesn't match the reality you and I are living in. Property tax has nothing to do with your income. So if you're a senior on a fixed income and your assessment goes up, you didn't do anything, but your bill goes up too, whether you can afford it or not. At the same time, if we want more housing, and we do, that means we need more infrastructure, pipes, pavement. It means we need to keep paying for services we love and depend on here. So we need growth, increasing the tax rate base without increasing the tax rate. But even if your rate doesn't go up, your bill might. So what's the alternative? I'm glad the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick was brought up, because they are currently advocating 2 things. First, revenue sharing from the province, especially from the HST. That means every time money is spent in our community, at a restaurant, at a store, at a hotel, HST is collected, and then not all of it goes to the feds and the provincial government. The municipality would be the ones, we're the ones maintaining the roads people drive on to get here, the water systems, the downtown, the public spaces. So a more balance system is to return a small, predictable portion of the HST back to us based on population or economic activity. So when our local economy grows, municipal revenue grows with it. Another solution by UMNB is to give municipalities flexibility to set tax rates on different kinds of property. New Brunswick is one of the only provinces in Canada where municipalities don't have the power to do that, and there's a lot of voices calling for that reform. So if we want to build up St. Stephen with more housing, stronger downtown, better infrastructure, we need a funding model that keeps up with that vision. As mayor of your next council, we'll keep growing our tax base, keep the tax rate down, and advocate for that tax reform wherever and whenever we can.
Thank you, Mark. That's the end of question period. A round of applause, everyone.
We'll now move to closing statements. We'll proceed in alphabetical order.
Beginning, most formally, with Stephen C. Bachman.
Thank you. So you've heard a lot of discussion this evening, and basically, you know, I'm going to, now that I'm retired, I can leverage 35 years of corporate management, and I've been managing the Charlotte County Hospital Foundation for almost 25 years. We have built our bank account up from $1.8 million when I took it over to $4.5 million today, and we've been able to use that revenue to purchase the CT, the X-ray machine, the mammography technology, and we've actually branched out into artificial intelligence for blood analysis so that you can get a diagnosis within a couple of minutes for some serious issues. And whether I'm here on after May 11th or not, I'll be continuing to work and use those skills to further development our health system in Charlotte County. But all those skills I've learned in international corporate management, in managing nonprofits, and in running my own farm. All those skills can come together, and with a good team around me, I think we can move St. Stephen forward in the really right direction. So I'm hoping you'll support me just like you supported me with the Hospital Foundation and with the swim team and with all those other activities. The Garcelon Civic Center was the board of directors when we constructed it. So I'm hoping you continue to put your trust in me, and I'll do my very best to serve you in the way you expect to be served. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Mark Grillo, your closing remarks.
First of all, can we show outgoing Mayor Alan McEachern some appreciation? Many years of service. Friends and neighbors, over the past few years, we've gotten used to a new normal that may have worked years ago, but it just doesn't work anymore in a changing world. We're living in a state of emergency still. We're playing catch-up with pavement and pipes, or we're wondering who's steering the ship at all. And when we don't know, we point fingers, and then Facebook comes along to answer all of our questions, right? Well, as with all elections, this election is your time to choose. It's your opportunity to assess the past 4 years and set our course for the next 4. So imagine with me a St. Stephen that isn't beaten down or beating up on each other, a St. Stephen of better solutions, a St. Stephen that says, sure, things aren't as they should be now, but we have all the people we need right here to make it better. And that's the choice we have in this election, a mayor and a council for the next chapter of St. Stephen. Coordination of a strategic plan, cooperation between partners, and communication among neighbors. A mayor and a council who look out for all the people, all who live and work and play here, who serve together to build up our neighbors, build up our local businesses and nonprofits and charities and service clubs, build up our quality of life, build up a helping hand for our most vulnerable neighbors with provincial services we need, build up our municipal staff under the guidance of a council you can trust again, who are doing it with a plan that unites us for a future that excites us because we're fixing what's broken here and we're building up a St. Stephen we are proud to call home. That's the choice I'm offering you this election, and I thank you so much for that opportunity. Thank you.
And Joyce Wright, your 2 minutes for your closing remarks begin right now.
In my opening, I focused on my work on the Regional Service Commission. As a councillor since 2023, I have proven that continued dedication to unity, positivity, and foundational planning, including serving as the council representative to the library, BIA, and Chamber of Commerce boards. I advocated for amendments to the zoning bylaw for rural agricultural use, and I served on the Corporate Services Review Committee. I'm proud of what we've done since 2023. Here are just a few of the major accomplishments. The transformation of our Corporate Services Department, which has made us a more responsive, nimble, and prepared municipality, including new technology. The alertable and access E11 tools for citizen communication, and more citizen engagement opportunities than this municipality has ever had. The medical professional recruitment policy, which is already bringing us results. The road assessment study, which is guiding the over $5 million in investment scheduled for 2026. The facade improvement program, which has already seen its first successful applicant. The solar trail lights that are coming in partnership with the BIA. County Moose, bringing Junior A hockey back to our municipality. A development agreement for the dock, bringing 66 more housing units to us. And because I'm running out of time, I will end with the development agreement for the hotel that's being built right next door. Despite our successes, there is no doubt we still face major challenges. I'm not oblivious to what we face. From continued homelessness to a precarious water system, we have a lot of work to do. I am a capable and educated professional, but I'm not running based on my professional experience. I'm running because I'm confident in my track record. I offer you unity, positivity, stability, and experienced public governance, both before and after amalgamation. I am a strong voice, and I believe I'm your right choice for mayor, now that I'm finally, officially, actually from St. Stephen.
Thank you so much to our mayoral candidates and as well to our council candidates who joined us earlier this evening. A big round of applause for everyone. I want to add that if you are watching at home, again, please look up your candidates, both mayoral and council, and ask them the questions you may not have heard tonight and you'd like to hear more from. If you are here in person, please stick around and ask questions directly to those candidates.
And thank you to our audience here in St. Stephen and to everyone for watching from home.
Local elections matter. They shape the communities that we live in.
Election day is May 11th. We encourage you to learn about the candidates, but most importantly, to vote.
For continuing coverage for the 2026 local elections, tune in to CHCO-TV regularly and also read the Courier online at CHCO.TV.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Nathalie Sturgeon.
And I'm Vicki Hogarth. Good night from St. Stephen.